Could Harris' silence and her silence cost her the blue wall? Could she lose those in very important states like in Michigan? Kamala has been part of an administration that's poured more than $50 billion into the Rust Belt industry, but she's hardly even mentioning the spending. Instead, Harris and her surrogates are focusing on a care economy. What? I thought it was opportunity economy. What the heck? Policies to expand childcare, make housing more affordable, and so on. Biden is a car guy like I'm a car girl, said Dingell, a Democrat. So it's just natural for us to talk about cars. But she's learning about cars. She's from California, but she still likes manufacturing, says this Democrat in coat mode. The Harris campaign did not comment directly on the policy shift, instead pointing to her new ad on the economy. Okay, and there's some evidence of a message shift that's working. Harris has cut into Trump's lead in the economy on national polls. Yeah, we'll see. And new polling for Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania. And then you've got the Fed who just cut interest rates. But the pivot is also raising concerns among some Democrats in the upper Midwest who worry she risks losing some of the working class voters that helped the party win in 2020. That concern has been bolstered by other recent surveys that show Harris is losing non-college educated voters by a much wider margin than Biden did. The Teamsters also refused to endorse her because they like Trump better. The divide reflects the continuing transformation of the party, and others sound like they're getting nervous on it. And I think as we see, as more and more people realize who this woman is, the truth will come out and people will wake up to who she is in reality. Now, there's more here. Kamala's lying bloodbath hoax is being called out even by CNN. She used this at the debate. She used this in her terrible interviews. She says Trump said that if he doesn't win, there's going to be like blood mayhem, swords coming out, limbs flying all over the place, pagers exploding everywhere. It'll be madness. But what's happening is that is not what he said at all. He was talking about the automotive industry, and CNN is finally bringing this up and calling it out when people like this guy with hair like that, named Eli Mistel, are making opposite arguments. Here's what it sounds like.
I just don't agree. The underpinning of her campaign, she repeats it herself. Trump will be a dictator on day one. This country fights dictators. That's what our history is. We fight dictators.
Didn't he say that?
He'll be a dictator.
Those were his words.
There'll be a bloodbath. There'll be a bloodbath.
That there would be a
he wants to terminate the U.S. Constitution.
I don't think she said there would say that there would be.
The first thing she said, which was true, and the second thing
it is said by every Democrat working for or around her campaign every day on this network and every other one. The bloodbath thing is stated every single day.
Okay, let me
But my point is, dictator, bloodbath, eliminate Constitution.
Hold on.
What do you think that does?
Just to clear this up, you're referring to Trump's use of the word bloodbath when he was talking.
And what was he talking about?
I'm going to explain it to people because I think there's confusion about this. Use of the word bloodbath when he was talking about vehicle manufacturing jobs in the United States.
Yeah.
Vice President Harris improperly and unfairly mischaracterized that as him saying there would be a bloodbath if he were elected. However, she did not say that if Trump were elected, there would be a bloodbath. She did not say that.
That's not what his argument was. No, she didn't say there would be a bloodbath, but she said Trump said that. And the point is that Trump did not say that. So, yeah, she got that right. And she corrected the record on it, which is all good news. Now, there's more on this because you can see that other anchors are a little bit shocked at what the difference has been between a Trump administration and a Harris Biden administration, because, of course, she's the competent one, more or less, barely. But look what it used to be. Look at those numbers. And why do they have them in red? Those are better numbers in 2020 when Trump was leaving than what we're facing now.
This is before, right when the pandemic was striking. Look, you had home loans at 3.5%. I mean, right? Car loans, 5.2%. Credit card interest rates, which are always terrible. Look at where they are today. So the idea of the Fed cutting interest rates would be these numbers would start to come down. You can see mortgage rates have already been falling in anticipation of the Fed cutting rates. They'll likely continue to fall. A lot of really smart people I know say you're going to have a 5 number there sometime maybe early next year, or even late this year. So for those people who are looking to buy,
shouldn't those colors be reversed? Why do they do that? Red is associated with being worse. Like it should have been green and then red. But they do, they're very sneaky.
Buy a home if you can find one in this tight housing market, or trying to refinance more likely. If you've recently bought, that's going to be the first place you're going to see the effects of lower interest rates.
So how bad did things get? Do you have numbers for, because we talked so much about how, I just set it up a second ago, how expensive it is to go to the grocery store. We know gas prices are falling, which is great. So tell us about what we saw in the improvements.
When you look at the vibe session, people feeling terrible about the economy, this is why. You had housing inflation, 8%. Gas prices at the worst were up 41%. So this is...
So it's a lot. And people are pretty sick and tired of it. But when you ask the Democrats about this, when you say, how is Kamala, who's been in charge for a long time, going to fix all of this? They say, I was raised as a middle-class kid in a middle-class household, and my mom worked hard. We say, well, what the hell does that have to do with the answer to the question? What policies are you going to change? He says, we're going to give you bigger tax credits and bigger tax cuts. What? So you're a Republican now? What are you talking about? But Hillary has been hitting the airwaves, man. She's been all over the place. I don't know if you've been seeing this, but she is really getting aggressive for whatever reason. And here she is saying that it's unfair to question Kamala about those policies. I don't know why. Let's see.
She does not have to do it, Kara. I'm going to just cut to the chase. In fact, she's put out policies on her campaign website. Anybody who's truly interested can go and read about them. She referenced policies. She actually doesn't just have policies and concepts. She has plans about what to do. I think it's a double standard. And it's a double standard that is partly because they are still getting to know her, but also because they're still grappling with the idea like, oh, am I really going to vote for a woman to be president and commander in chief? He does not have.
Okay, so it's misogyny and maybe racism, and it's a double standard to ask a woman about her policies. Wow, I didn't know that. Guess I'll keep that in mind for all of the other candidates. Don't ask about age, weight, or policies if a woman's running for office. Okay, guess that's the standard. Thanks, Hillary. Way to break that glass ceiling. Well done. So we are still getting to learn more about Kamala. In fact, we're learning that she wants to break into your homes and take your guns. What a psycho. Kamala apparently said this some time ago. You can see there's Gavin Newsom. There's a press conference. This was back when she's in California. It looks like back in the 90s when they recorded videos on potatoes. This is what she said. Just because you legally possess a gun in the sanctity of your locked home doesn't mean that we're not going to walk into that home and check to see if you're being responsible.
Locked home, responsible behaviors among ways you conduct your affairs.
Have you heard from?
Should be disqualified immediately, right? That should just be played. Okay, what a psycho. She wants to come into your house and look at your guns. She said that. Why is she not being held to answer for that question? Kamala, do you think it's appropriate to go into someone's house and check their guns? Would you like to check their medicine cabinet too? Would you like to check their genitals too? What is wrong with these people? They're lunatics. And they all just sat around, apparently, whenever this was recorded and just ate it. Like it's not even a problem. Okay, yeah, we'll just do it. Newsom, yeah, we should just walk in there. Yeah, maybe I'll just say hello to your wife, too, while I'm in there. Because Newsom, that's what he does. But anyways, this is Kamala. We are getting to know her. She is a liar, obviously. We've seen a lot of that. And the people who know her well are calling her the same, saying she's filled with lies, including Byron Donalds, who was on with CNN.
Kamala Harris in a debate last week, she lied about Donald Trump's bloodbath comments. Why did she say that? Because she wants to invoke a negative energy around the campaign of Donald Trump, frankly, to affect these undecided voters that we talked about at the top.
There
What
could
is
be
she
a lot of
talking
facts.
about?
I mean,
The same-
Congressman, you and I have gone
Okay,
back and
hold
forth a
on.
lot
The
about
same lie
like
about
fact checking
Charlottesville.
that can happen.
Kate, can you acknowledge that Kamala Harris lied about the Charlottesville comments again? Something that even Snopes has debunked and said is fake news.
Admit it,
that it
Kate.
is wrong, that his statements were taken out of context. Those are the direct lies coming from Kamala Harris. So if you're going to talk about the invective put into this campaign that Kamala Harris and her campaign has done, trying to invoke a negative response from voters in our country, versus Donald Trump talking about issues, whether it be in a city or quite frankly, you could bring up Aurora, Colorado, or you could bring up Denver, Colorado, that have been overrun by illegal immigrants.
There are lots of things can be brought up, which is also, if you're talking to
they do it in a dishonest fashion. They do it with lies. Here is what Rand Paul said about it. Said every day they're out there saying Trump is a danger to democracy, right? They keep saying it's the worst thing since the Civil War, forgetting 9/11, forgetting Pearl Harbor. Something has to do. He's saying someone has to do something about it. They're inciting every crazy and angry person in this country. Now, when they say when Trump does this, he should be gagged. Trump is gagged currently, thanks to Judge Merchan, the judge who had a daughter who worked for Kamala Harris. But Rand says they get away with it every day, every single day. It's a propaganda network just defrauding their viewers.
2 assassination attempts within about a 2-month period. He needs more protection. Something bad is going to happen. But what we also have to have is a discussion in our country where networks like CNN and MSNBC are daily saying that he is a danger to democracy and someone has to do something about it. These left-wing networks aren't saying he has bad policy. Hillary Clinton wasn't saying he had bad policy. She's saying he's a danger. The implication is we won't be able to stop him through the election. We must stop him otherwise. And they are inciting every crazy or angry person in our country. And frankly, CNN and MSNBC need to tone down their rhetoric because they are part of the incitement to violence. With 2
and that's Rand. He's right. But this is what they've been saying for years now. January 6th was their excuse to debase an entire demographic in this country called MAGA extremists, homegrown, violent, terrorist, whatever, in order to smear them, to besmirch them so that they could do whatever they wanted to that side and delegitimize their voice in the public arena, even though there's no basis for them to do that. This is a political operation by political operators that have no interest in justice or freedom or liberty or America at all. They just have their interests buried in their own power. They've exposed that. They've shown us that by trying to throw RFK Jr. off the ballots before throwing him or demanding he stay back on the ballots.